Why are Christian Bible colleges disappearing all over America? Hello, welcome to Kevin's Corner, where truth is diligently sought, deliberately taught, and dauntlessly defended. Have you noticed how many Christian colleges and Bible schools are quietly shutting down across America? Why are enrollments collapsing? Why are churches shrinking and young people walking away from ministry preparation? In this video, we'll examine the spiritual, cultural, and financial forces behind the decline of private Christian Bible colleges and what it may mean for the future of the church in America. Did you know that the average church in America now has only about 65 congregants? And nearly 70% of churches have fewer than 100 members? At the same time, almost 100 churches are closing every week across America. So why is this happening? Americans are becoming less religious. Church populations are aging rapidly, while many mainstream evangelical families have fewer children. During COVID, many believers left brick-and-mortar churches in favor of digital services where information could still be accessed. But the formation of Christian character through fellowship and accountability was often weakened by isolation. And estimates suggest that 20 or 30% of those attendees never returned to regular in-person worship. And just as small churches are disappearing from the American landscape, smaller Christian colleges are also fading away. The Council for Christian Colleges and Universities reports that in 1960, there were approximately 400 Bible colleges in the United States with around 35,000 students. And their mission was clear: prepare young men and women for ministry, missions, and gospel proclamation. But by 1990, the number of schools had grown to 900, and by 2010, enrollment had surged to nearly 400,000 students. But then the decline began. By 2020, enrollment had dropped to approximately 380,000 students, a decline of about 15%. Why? Well, perhaps because enrollment is decreasing, leading to major funding shortages. Scandals among church and institutional leaders have damaged credibility. Financial solutions are becoming increasingly elusive. Younger Americans appear less interested in biblical principles and church involvement in ministry preparation. Fewer young people are pursuing pastoral ministry, leaving many churches struggling to find qualified leadership. One major reason for this decline in America's demographic movement away from Christianity, according to the Pew Research Center, 80% of adults aged 74 and older identify as Christians, compared to only 46% of adults aged 18 to 24. 58% of older adults pray daily, compared to only 27% of younger adults. 49% of older adults attend religious services monthly or more, compared to only 25% of younger adults. So the conclusion is difficult to avoid. Younger Americans are significantly less religious than previous generations. In response, many smaller Christian colleges compromised their founders' original vision. Admission standards were relaxed to maintain enrollment numbers. And as successive generations drifted away from biblical truth and toward the offerings of a morally confused culture, some institutions followed the culture in an effort to survive. And some merged with other schools, and many simply died on the vine. The problem, however, is not merely spiritual, it is also economic and demographic. All colleges are facing enrollment challenges because American families are having fewer children. The New York Times reports that the American birth rate has fallen to around 1.6 children per family, while the rate of 2.1 is needed to maintain population stability. Financial pressures often lead to sudden closures that devastate both students and faculty. Students may begin a semester expecting to graduate only to discover weeks later that their institution is shutting down. Professors who devoted decades of service can suddenly lose their positions with few comparable opportunities available to them. There is limited demand in the public sector for specialists in Greek and Hebrew and theology and homiletics or biblical studies. One striking example occurred in May 2025 when Eastern Nazarene College closed after serving students for 124 years. Faculty and students were informed with little warning. Student records were transferred to Mount Vernon Nazarene University and Trevecca Nazarene University and Gordon College. Historically, small Christian colleges flourished because they served the churches and the denominations that founded them. And those preparing for ministry were expected to attend Bible college or seminary. Today, however, some large megachurches have developed their own internal ministry training programs. Churches such as Saddleback Church in Southern California and North Point Ministries in Atlanta, Georgia, now provide ministry preparation programs at little or no cost. And as a result, many prospective pastors question whether it's wise to accumulate $40,000 or more in student debt for a degree that churches may no longer require. Dr. Perry Glanzer of Baylor University describes this phenomenon as the Walmartization of higher education. Smaller colleges struggle to compete with the larger universities that possess greater financial resources and larger donor bases and massive endowments that create generous tuition discounts. Interestingly, private Bible colleges and schools focused almost exclusively on theology and ministry and missions, and they are experiencing the steepest decline, while Christian universities offering degrees in business and nursing and education and counseling and technology often continue to grow. The schools that diversified their curriculum and built partnerships with surrounding communities have generally survived more successfully, and this raises an important question. Can Christian institutions engage the secular world while still influencing it for Christ? Or must they remain isolated in order to preserve doctrinal purity? And many conservative Christians view secular engagement as a dangerous compromise that risks inviting worldly values into Christian institutions. They fear that some schools are becoming little more than liberal arts colleges with a thin Christian veneer. Yet, complete isolationism may also prove fatal. And us for no more mentality can slowly suffocate an institution from within. And even though mergers are difficult and emotionally painful, more small colleges, Christian colleges, are turning to them as a last attempt at survival. The future of Christian higher education may ultimately depend upon whether institutions can remain doctrinally faithful while also adapting wisely to cultural, demographic, and economic realities. The challenge is not simply remaining open. The challenge is remaining faithful while surviving. If this sort of material is appealing and helpful to you, please share, like, and subscribe to Kevin's Corner for more biblical teaching that is diligently sought, deliberately taught, and dauntlessly defended. Until next time, live bravely and courageously.